Hi guys, welcome. It is 2 p.m. Eastern and it's time for our Time to Grow Brain Bites. What are we talking about today? We're talking about subliminal learning. I found out about this many years ago, but I actually utilized this specifically in 1990. I'm going to age myself now. 1997, of where I actually put it into practice, and it's really quite awesome. So what is it? Give it a second. We're just waiting for a few people to jump online. I've just had a message from someone saying, wait for me. Subliminal learning. Okay, let's give you an overview. There is something called an absolute threshold, And what does that mean? It means the difference between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. What is that even meaning? Well, for those that deal in the subconscious and the conscious mind, I can see a few of you are live watching this as well, so feel free to contribute in the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts around this. So you have a conscious mind where you are consciously doing things. You are actively saying to yourself, I am doing this now, okay? Then you have a subconscious mind, which is your mind working in the background, okay? This is where most of your most important decisions are made, believe it or not. This is where a lot of the information is taken in, deciphered as to what's important, and pushed into the filing cabinet so we can recall it at any one time. So if you think of the brain as like a big filing cabinet, I don't know why I did this, but that's where your brain lives. We all know that. A couple of comments here, people saying, hi, welcome. Okay, so what is subliminal learning? Subliminal learning is when you're just crossing the threshold between your conscious brain and your subconscious brain. Best time to do this is either A, while you're sleeping, because you are subconsciously awake, meaning that if there was a loud noise, bang, you'd wake up like, what's that noise, right? Because your brain, it's actually behind your ear here, it's called the amygdala. It's like a smoke alarm. It's constantly looking for danger, and if it hears danger, bang, right into the conscious mind, right, where it can make conscious decisions. It goes to the very front of the mind, which is called the neocortex, and says, what am I going to do about this? Okay, your subconscious, you're living in a different part of your brain while you're asleep or while you're really busy doing something that is mindless. Okay, so let me go into a bit more detail on that. What does that mean? So while we're going to sleep, you can learn something. You have to do it at the absolute threshold, meaning it's not loud enough where it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to learn that right now, I'm trying to sleep. And power of suggestion, okay? Being busy is things like doing the dishes, okay? Some people actually get the best thinking whilst doing the dishes, whilst in the bathroom, swimming, doing chores, things that are really mindless, don't need lots of brain activity, okay? Your subconscious mind is picking up on things like this. This is why, have you noticed you can remember the words to some particular songs better than you can your own cell phone number or your own PIN number? Yeah, do you know why? Well, it's nobody's answering, so I'm guessing no. And the reason why you can remember these things is because you subliminally learnt them. Maybe you heard them in a grocery store. Maybe you heard them in the background while you're getting your hair done, things like that. We can actually recall, I can recall songs that I heard in the 1980s better than I can recall anyone's mobile phone number, right? That's crazy. Or my PIN number or account numbers, of things that I use all the time, but I might never have heard that song for the last 3 to 4 years. Think of this, Alzheimer's patients. Okay, don't remember their own name, bang, can recall a song like no one's business. The power of music, the power of the subconscious mind. So let's go back to subliminal learning. I'm going to give you an example of when I did this. The very first time I put this into practice, I knew about it. Of course I did. I was practicing it as a corporate trainer. But I went to work, I gave up everything, and I went to work at TGI Fridays as a waitress, otherwise known as a dub for anybody that used to work at TGI Fridays in the late 90s. Anyway. As a waitress back in those days, I don't know whether it's the same now, but you had to learn weights and measures and ingredients of every single item on the menu. And that included cocktails as well. And it was really hard. Like you had to know how many pounds of chicken wings there was, what type of different lettuces was in the salad, and so on and so forth. And I found it really hard to learn because I had other things going on as well, family things, personal things, so on and so forth. So what I would do is I would read it out on a little tape recorder. It was about this big, and you just press record and play at the same time. And I would record it, and then I would press play, put it at the absolute threshold for me to listen to, which is not loud enough to wake you, but quiet enough to, loud enough for you to take in the information in your subconscious mind, okay? I would wake up and I would know specifically, and I've said this to before, some of you who are listening right now might know this. I remember things like crazy, like acronyms, right? Like Savgapol. is if anyone's on from TGI Fridays, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is a San Francisco Southern Comfort amaretto, vodka, pineapple juice, orange juice, lemon juice. Right? And I worked at TGI Fridays for 20 years. It'll be 20 years in December, right? But I can remember things like crazy because I subliminally learned them. If I read them from a book, I was able to recite it. I would not have subliminally learned it. When you go into the subliminal, the subconscious, you're actively putting it right down into the long-term memory bank. Really, really cool. So if you want to learn a language, if you want to remember things from a book, if you want to be able to recite a speech, if you are an actor or actress, record it and have it playing at the absolute threshold. Super, super cool. So let me tell you a couple more things about this. Let me come out of the comments here. It's otherwise known as hypnopaedic learning. That's a bit of a fancy word, isn't it? So subliminal is a bit easier to know. Hypnopaedic learning. And there was a university, and I can't tell you what year, I apologize, I've got all the data for that for you, but hypnopaedic learning was looked at in a Swiss university, and they said there's absolutely no way people can learn things in the sleep and be more effective than they are when they are actively listening and actively trying to understand something. So they did this study. They took 20 people at one side and 20 people at the other. 20 people, they said, go to sleep. And an hour later, they would have recordings of these Dutch sayings going on and on and on and repeat. And then they took the other 20 people, they kept them awake, and they were talking to them. And they had this recording going on and on and on and on. And then they let everyone go to sleep. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, they woke everybody up and they said, who can recall these sayings? And all these people were like, bang, bang, Dutch phrases like, how on earth do I know that? How on earth do I know that? So they were showing reflective pictures. I don't know how I know that. It's subliminal learning, the same way that you learn words to songs of some things that you don't even want to learn the words to. Have you noticed this? Or you can recite a poem, or you can recite a conversation that maybe you overheard with your subconscious mind. Like your subconscious is so incredibly skilled. So what to subliminally learn? The best things for you to learn are things that are really important to you. You need to be very, very critical and very, very precise on what you are going to learn. If you're learning a new language, especially if you're over the age of 16, this is a really great way of learning a new language. Study it too. The reason why I say 16 is, believe it or not, your IQ is static. By the time you're 16, what is IQ? Is your capacity to be intelligent. Okay, so at 16, it's no more malleable. Of course, you can put more information on there, and you can study, and you can, exercise your mind muscle, but your intelligence is pretty static from the age of 16. So learning a language becomes that bit harder. So full immersion, things like that. But subliminally learning will reinforce the learning that you've already had. So super cool. Audio books that are really important, but you need to make sure you're picking ones with really good narrators who are not using regional dialects that you don't understand and things like that. Important study notes. If you have like high level things that you don't remember particularly well for an exam the next day, great way of subliminally learning. Oh goodness, I can talk about exams all day for that one. You are already under the influence of advertising subliminally. I want to give you some examples of this. There are movies that are sponsored by cell phone providers, by laptop companies, by coffee companies. Like, you get some movies where they're constantly like this. So I could just take a drink right now. I am not actively saying, hey, you should go to Starbucks and buy this, but just by having it in the picture is subliminally, meaning you're not actively conscious of me advertising it. I'm subliminally doing it. Or can you see I've got them lined up here? I went to Tim Hortons myself, and then some wonderful, beautiful person came and brought me a Starbucks as well. The Tim Hortons one is cold from this morning. But you are constantly advertised to. The Exorcist, they actually got in trouble because they did some subliminal advertising. There was, oh gosh, it was a great movie with Tom Cruise in it. Anyone remember? Where it had lots of subliminal advertising in. The Arnold Schwarzenegger one, the one where he goes to Mars and his face peels off, loads of subliminal advertising. In fact, the FCC said they can't do it anymore. It's totally deceptive. So you have to be conscious about the advertising now. So you'll notice that, you'll see, let's say it's Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola billboards specifically behind the person when they're talking, and so on and so forth. But subliminal can be very, very quick, as in one frame. There was one particular movie, I wish I knew what it was called, and where they literally had a 1 second frame come up, and 1 second is quite a long time in the movie theaters. It came up and it said, eat more popcorn, and people actually actively got up and went and got more popcorn. We are suggested to all the time. Let's talk about that. Subliminal messaging. If you ever been to hypnosis, if ever you've been to any stage motivation things, seminars, conferences, you have subliminal messaging. Anybody knows who branding? Now you want a coffee, yeah? Well, actually, this is tea and this is decaf coffee. So maybe that's your own subconscious talking to you. That's really interesting. Love that. You are constantly. So let's say, for example, let's think of something subliminal. So you see the message here behind me? That's subliminal messaging right there. If I had music behind me, here's a great one. There was an experiment done in a grocery store quite a long time ago, and they wanted to see if music influenced what people would buy. So this particular grocery store, so this was in the UK, where at the time you could buy liquor at any grocery store. So they had their one aisle, and they would have the German wines and the French wines, say. And then one particular day, they had French music playing in the background, subliminal. And it wasn't, really obvious, like accordions and stuff like that. It was just French speaking singers. And then one particular day, they had German songs. So it would be the more accordions, the more German sounding instruments, and so on and so forth, to the point where on those days, German sales were up, wine was up, French wine was up on the French music days, and it had it very, very low key, and not every song either. It was subliminal. It was the power of suggestion. If you look at stage hypnosis, is the power of suggestion. If you look at really good sales people, like who's in sales? For those who are in sales, you are taught how to give the power of suggestion. I'll give you an example of that. Back in the day, TGI Fridays, they used to say to us, so we worked on commission back in those days. I don't think it works like that now. But we were told to say things like, someone would say, oh, I'd like a burger and fries. And I would say, would you like bacon and cheese with that? Okay. And the very fact that I did this with my head and I was nodding made people want to like me, made people want to build a rapport with the waiter and waitress, so they would automatically start doing this, right? And that's how we sold lots of bacon and cheese on top of it. If I just looked at them and said bacon and cheese, they'd go, oh, decision. Let's talk about decisions. Let's go back to the banner of this. Okay, let's look at decisions. When you are consciously awake, you can only carry 7 things in your brain, meaning 7 items off your to-do list, meaning 7 things cooking at the same time, 7 things you're listening to, 7 things you're tasting, and so on and so forth. It's the power of 7. Okay, 7 different variables, for example. So if you're wanting to make a decision, anything over 7, you would feel overwhelmed, your brain would fill with cortisol, and you would have overanalysis paralysis. So let's say you're choosing a car and you have like 12 to choose from, you'd be like, oh, I just can't choose. I need someone else to choose for me, right? When you are working from your subconscious, whether you're asleep or when you're doing something mindless, you actually have 20,000, let me repeat that, 20,000 different variables going on in your mind, which means that your brain is actually going to the filing cabinet, getting all that cool knowledge and making some better decisions based on lots of things, as opposed to your conscious mind, it goes, I've only got 7 options, right? 20,000 variables from your subconscious. So here's the moral of this story. You want to learn something, you want to learn it very, very powerfully, or you want to learn something super, super quick, get the audio book, listen to a language, record things for speech, exams, stuff like that. Do it subliminally. Do it in your sleep. Do it while you're doing mindless activities, because busy hands make a light mind, take in more knowledge, get it concrete into the long-term memory, so that down the line you can say, oh, I don't know how I know this, but I know exactly how to say, can I do this in this particular language? And it's super cool, and you'll find it super interesting, and you'll recognize just how clever your brain is. So I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I would love to hear your comments and your thoughts. It's ella@ellabates.com, and you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again on Friday for our live 2 p.m. On Wednesdays and Fridays. Bye for now, guys.